Yo, yo.
Hey.
Hello. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, fortunately. But I was hoping to hook my my setup, directly in via the line, but I don't know.
Next time.
I tried to test it out. It was just
Not happening.
not happening.
That's
And
okay.
even this right now, who knew live streaming was so difficult?
No one.
I had no idea.
I think everyone's testing it out as they go.
Oh yeah, definitely. But as you probably know, this weekend I am part of that massive Break the Monotony DJ lineup. I'm opening it up, and I don't want to pull a Teddy Riley. I definitely do not want to pull a Teddy Riley.
Yeah, you got a lot of practicing.
But that's the thing. You can't really practice. You gotta. The only way to practice is to go live. So
true.
It's either, I guess.
Well, you should do a test. You should do some tests.
Oh, 100%. I'm trying to figure this out. I might do it at like 3, 4 in the morning when no one's watching, so I don't look totally foolish.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for talking with me tonight.
Absolutely.
For those joining, this is DJ Neil Armstrong, and I'm Laura, aka the Sound Sommelier. You want to get it started, or you good to go?
I think it might be better if you leave me in the conversation, because I'm still stressed out from the sound not working.
Oh, well, hopefully you chill out a bit during the interview.
For sure.
So I interviewed you 11 years ago. And,
that's what I figured.
After our interview, I'm going to compare your answers because I have a couple of the same questions. But my first question is always, what's your earliest memory of hip hop?
I mean, I'm going to have to give my age. So I'm 46. I'm going to be 46 years old.
Okay.
So I had the pleasure of kind of hitting that first wave of hip hop. I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, my first real memory is, of course, like b-boying. And the first hip hop song that I remember was Jam on It by Nucleus.
Nice.
It was during that whole, like the first wave of b-boying when breaking came out and blah, blah, blah and all that. And that was my real earliest memory. But later on, when I would say I became really involved in the culture, it was actually via church, oddly enough. Actually, all my hip hop stuff came via church. One of the things was my pastor's son. So pastors' kids are kind of notorious for being kind of bad. So my pastor's son gave me the NWA tape, Eric B. and Rakim, and something else, but I can't remember right now. So that was that. And also, I happened to go to an extremely multicultural church. I don't know if you go to church or have been to a lot of churches, but most churches are all Korean, all black, all blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Mine was, there was like a Pakistani family, there was us, white, black, everything, literally under the sun, Estonian. Anyway.
Did your parents pick that one because of that, or it just happened to be?
I don't think so. I think it just happened to be the church that was kind of in our neighborhood. It was the First United Methodist Church of Jamaica, and actually they were an extremely progressive sect. One of my pastors was gay, like, for example, and this is when I'm a kid. And unfortunately, though, there's actually been a rift between the progressive people and the not so. So anyway, long story short, because I was in this multicultural situation, there were like a bunch of teenagers that used to break, and I used to follow them like a puppy dog. And I beg them, like, yo, can you do a backspin? Yo, can you do anything? I just want to see you do it. And really that's how I got sucked into the culture, you know, if you want to define it with that four elements type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then my pastor's son kind of, you know, when I started listening to, you know, those cassette tapes that he gave me,
Mm-hmm.
that's when, you know, things kind of moved into, I was culturally part of, you know, the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to have these youth group meetings, and we used to have these district massive meetups. So the kids, basically all of Long Island would all join in these massive youth meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So part of Long Island is like neighborhoods like St. Albans and like really black churches. And they would stick us with people from Goshen, upstate New York, and, you know, someone like myself. And we would all just jump on a bus together and go and have these meetings. And I would be on the bus with all the St. Albans kids and all those guys. And I remember this specifically when De La Soul's first album came out, 3 Feet High and Rising. You know, there was no hip hop radio. This wasn't music that was played on the radio. But the whole bus knew the whole album. And from that point on, I was like, wow, this, you know, I think this is the music for me. I really like this stuff. And I got sucked in from there.
Nice. Did your parents support your love of music? Like, were you playing it in the house, or did they play music? Did they?
I mean, they supported music. They didn't necessarily support, you know what? That's an unfair statement. Let's say they supported me. You know, they never stopped me from going out. They never stopped me from hanging out with my friends, even though, you know, at the time, hip hop had a lot of bad connotations, you know, drugs, blah, 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 you know, pick something. They never stopped my friends from coming over and hanging out with me. You know, my friends would sleep over the crib.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the most part, I would say they were very supportive. And then later on, I probably answered something like this. You know, when I became a DJ, as long as I paid my mortgage, as long as I didn't ask them for money, they never said anything. As long as I could handle my business. But if there ever came a point where I was like, you know, I can't make my rent, mama, she would have said, well, maybe you should get a job. But besides that, you know, I never had that issue. So fortunately, yeah, they were very supportive.
So when you first started, so you talked about the breaking and the b-boying and stuff like that. When was the first time you actually started DJing, and kind of what was the impetus behind that?
I mean, initially, you know, I guess it would be 1994. There used to be this thing called the New Music Seminar, which was this really just a music, just any type of music. Actually, probably more alternative at the time than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a DJ named DJ Clark Kent who used to do a battle called the New Music Seminar Battle, or the Superman Battle. And one year, I volunteered to be part of it. But basically, what it did was it gave me a lanyard so I could go to any new music seminar related event.
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, I got into like turntablism. I would watch these crazy, I don't know why, but I just gravitated toward the DJing in particular. I thought what they were doing was crazy. So at the New Music Seminar, this particular year, there's a DJ named DJ Shortcut. Shout out to Shortcut out on the West Coast, Beat Junkie, Triple Threat DJ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he enters the battle, and, you know, he's Filipino-American. And for the first time, you know, I saw someone who kind of looked like me, I guess. And that was pretty rare at the time. You know, there just wasn't a lot of Asian folk running around back then. Like, honestly, the only ones I really remember is me and this kid, Dao Yi, who I went to high school with, Dowdy, ended up doing public school. He used to work for Puffy. He was like a model from Mecca. And basically, at the New Music Seminar, I see Shortcut, and you know, people didn't care what he looked like. They just cared, like, you know, can I kill it? And that's it. And you know, I just saw him on the stage, and I was like, you know what, I could do that. I think I could do that. And basically, I would say it's from there that everything kind of blew up.
When would you say you went, or what would you say was the impetus behind you going from a local DJ to an international one?
I would say, so let's say around, and my memory of time is just all screwed up.
That's okay. You don't have to say when. You can just be like, it was kind of when this happened.
So I attribute a lot of my bigger success to my, I'd say former manager, because he doesn't really do music stuff anymore. His name is Sky Galatly. So I think what Sky taught me, which was somewhat rare at the time, he taught me to treat myself as a brand, essentially. And DJs weren't operating that way. They just weren't. So my manager used to work at MTV. He used to work at Complex Magazine. So he would just build these relationships. In particular, I ended up being one of the original bloggers for Hypebeast. So Hypebeast is, of course, I don't know what the kids think of it now, but at one point, I mean, that's the term, Hypebeast. It comes from that, you know, from that it was basically the epicenter of whatever, the culture of cool, whatever you want to call it. So my manager would get me positioned that way. You know, during that time, I have no shame in saying, like, even in my own squad, I wasn't the best DJ. I wasn't the, you know, I never won a DJ battle. Like, literally, I never won a major DJ battle, even though my crew members are, you know, many times over champions. He taught me to kind of, you know, it's not just how good you are, it's how the relationships you have with other people, with other brands. So, you know, if I was to draw a line, I started making these mixtapes, which was my thing in particular. Coming from the turntablist community, turntablists didn't make mixtapes like I did. Like, I was, whatever, you know, I was playing love songs. You know, battle DJs don't do that. Like, my boy, Daddy Dog, who's one of my DJ partners, he used to always make fun of me, like, you're not rough. Like, what are you doing? You're playing freaking Bill Withers. But I kind of built myself as this brand, right? This, you know, when you listen to a Neil Armstrong mixtape, you're going to get X, Y, and Z. And because my manager used to play them to, you know, I used to write for Hypebeast, so it would proliferate to people of influence, essentially. So at one point at MTV, they used to say all my mixtapes were in rotation at, you know, on their servers. Vibe magazine, pick something. So eventually they get into the hand of Rockefeller Records. Eventually they get into the hands of Jay-Z. Eventually they get into hands of whatever. I've also built this, you know, quote unquote brand. You know, DJ Neil Armstrong is not just a DJ. In fact, I barely DJ'd out back then during this time period. So, you know, put all those things together. When Adidas starts reaching out for, like, well, who should we get to represent our company? Oh, you should get Neil. And, you know, it really was all that. And all of that came from Sky. So, yeah, if I had to pick one thing, it was when I hooked up with the right people to turn myself into a brand.
Would you consider Sky a mentor, or did you have others in your circle that kind of helped you?
I mean, definitely on the business side of things, I would say Sky. From the DJ side of things, I mean, I've always told that the X-Men, obviously I said shortcut. I probably wouldn't, I could imagine I'd be doing something different if I didn't attend that DJ battle with Shortcut there in person. Of course, the X-Men, Rob Swift, Mr. Sinister, Total Eclipse, all those guys, and then even my DJ crew. So, hip hop historically is young people music. A-Track always gets kind of shown as like, oh, he was like 14, I think, when he won the Worlds. Yeah. But like DJ Scratch was super young. Pete Rock was a teenager. They were all kids. The hip hop is like a kid type
for
movement.
The children.
Yeah, I guess so. Now myself, I started late. I didn't start until I was 21. So I had like a kind of a weird situation with all that. I actually think that kind of helped me kind of not think like a child. I already had a job. I already had, the knowledge of, like a lot of DJs, when they get paid when they're younger, they get paid in drinks at the bar. Right? If you're 17, if you're 20 and you're 21 and you're getting free drinks, you're like the king of the world. But you don't realize when you're 25 and 30, you're still living in your mama's basement. There's a problem if all you're getting is drinks. So I think me being a lot older kind of helped me, navigate that a lot better. Yeah. But I can't even remember what the original question was.
Just about like if you had a mentor, but I think you also answered my next question about if you had who or what were your early influences on your style and how you separated yourself from the rest.
Yeah. I think I covered it.
I think you answered that, yeah.
Possibly.
What are your thoughts on the new live streaming boom, especially since the quarantine started, but also kind of, I feel like even before then?
I mean, it's great. Personally, it's really interesting because a lot of DJs who have complained about, well, I got to only play radio hits and I got to only play blah, blah, blah. I can't play what I want. Guess what? You guys can play exactly what you want now, and you don't have to really worry about it. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's really interesting, though, because I guess the circumstance has brought a lot of it to light, but I don't know, people have been doing this for 2, 3, 4 years. This is not brand new technology, but I mean, one of the running jokes is like, you can't buy a webcam right now to save your life unless you want to pay 5 times the amount. You can't buy a microphone. You can't buy freaking TRRS to TRS cords. So yeah, it's crazy how important it has become. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's maybe even almost like an equalizer, because
that's true.
Those DJs who are like something /DJ, actor /DJ, model /DJ, I don't know if they're really going to survive in this world, because the DJing aspect is a lot more important than the other aspect. So yeah, this might be kind of a reset, actually. Are we taking comments? I see a bunch of people I know. What's going on, y'all?
If you want to talk to them, talk to them. If you want to answer any questions they ask, that's fine too.
Yeah.
As someone that came up kind of before Tractor and Serato came along, what are your thoughts on that versus actual records?
I mean, it's really weird. So I'm still one of these DJs who spin. What's up, Lowell? I'm sorry. What's up, Hand on the Pump? I'm one of these DJs who is known for throwing down vinyl, and actually I enjoy it quite a bit. I wouldn't go as far as calling me a vinyl snob. There are people who kind of go in that direction, but I still love doing it. I think it's a a beautiful skill set to have that a lot of the newer kids don't. And, you know, it's not the same. You can download an MP3, like you can find a YouTube video and download the MP3 off of it, right? You can't do the same thing. There's another aspect of the vinyl culture. At the same time, though, the Fit Platoon was, so my DJ crew was one of the earlier adopters of, you know, digital vinyl. So we were sponsored by, at the time, it was Stanton. So they bought the rights to something called Final Scratch. And we had it before everybody else had it, and we used to do clinics about it. And yeah, pretty much 90% of the people there were like, nah, this is corny, this is whack, blah, blah, blah. And I would say it's the other way around now.
Yeah, definitely. I can say a lot of DJs I've interviewed have said it's really just made their lives a little easier.
Yeah.
Instead of like having to lug around crates of vinyl.
I mean, I have no idea what I only did a couple of gigs overseas, and, you know, we would always hear stories. I don't know if they were true or not, but like, I don't know, you know, Kid Capri or whatever would have to bring like 4 crates, and they would sit one in the freaking first class next to them and things like that. And, you know, I never had to deal with that. And I don't know, it would be very difficult for sure. But I think overall, I mean, proof is in the pudding. Everybody uses some type of digital vinyl, whether it be a controller, CD, blah, blah, blah. But I will always have the utmost respect for people who spin vinyl and collect it.
Me too.
One of the DJs, you know, whatever, there's tons of them. DJ Plattern, obviously Shortcut, you know, all the Beat Junkie cats. You know, there's a guy named Coco out in Japan. I don't know if you've seen him yet. He spins 45s. Shout out to Scheme Richards. Scheme, I guess, is one of the first people. He's probably the first person to bring him out this side of town. I mean, there's monsters out there doing insane stuff. Boogie Blind, of course. Whatever, man. We could do an hour of me just saying DJs' names that I love.